This week you're going to be taking the research you've been doing and turn that into the argument essay draft. So to start, we need to be clear that this is an MLA format. If you used the template that I provided for the academic annotated bibliography, then you have it already set up except for a couple of things at the end. So you can still use it for the heading. The original title needs to be changed because on the annotated bibliography you have a very set title. You need an original title, not argument essay draft. It needs to be original, something to do with your topic. Of course, you need the page number in the top right corner with your last name. Make sure that is also in 12-point Times New Roman font. You have to manually select that in order to get it to do that correctly. The whole draft, including the works cited page, needs to be double-spaced, and you will need in-text citations for any sources that you are citing with the author's last name and page number in parentheses after a paraphrase or a quote from any of your outside sources, including your background information. So you'll see an example of what that looks like shortly. A works cited page needs to be completely on its own page. You can use your annotated bibliography for that, but you need to take out the annotations. So just the citations in alphabetical order, properly formatted, if you're using those in your draft. So then what is it that is included in this draft? There are going to be 2 pages, double space minimum. You're not going to include personal language in most of this, except for the optional final paragraph for the draft, which is, again, optional. So we'll talk about that in just a couple of slides. But your introduction is going to give general overview of the topic. You're not going to cite any sources. You're just going to talk about the topic in general. You're not going to quote anyone else. You just need to truly introduce the topic and state your hypothesis. Notice I did not say thesis. You cannot possibly come up with a thesis statement until you're completely finished with your research. And even then, it's probably going to just be a working thesis, because this is not the type of argument where you start with a statement that you are defending with evidence. That's like a literary analysis. We're not doing that. You are going to find different perspectives and information on your topic that help to answer questions that you have about it, and then you are going to make your own conclusion, a real conclusion, not just a restatement of what you've already said. So in this introduction, you're going to have mostly background info, or not even background info, just introductory, generic kind of information that sets the scene for the rest of the essay and lets the reader know what it is you're going to be talking about. But your sentence, your typical thesis, will look different. So I'll give you an example from a student draft after we're finished with these slides. The body paragraph that comes after the intro is going to be all about context and background info. And so some of you have already looked that up for the annotated bibliography, but you need to think about the reader of this essay as not knowing a whole lot about it. So things that you found out about the historical, social, political, or any other contextual information. It might be law, it might be religious, it depends on your topic. It could be pop culture related. And you will have to make sure that you cite sources in the text for that as well. Britannica is really good for that, which is on the list of sources that you could have used for the annotated bibliography. The next several paragraphs, and actually the rest of the essay, is going to be body paragraphs that detail at least one perspective each. So you're looking for as many points of view on the topic that you can. So here you're looking for experts. You might be looking for people who have experiences with the topic. You might be looking for cases in law, any kind of perspectives that you can find on this topic. But each body paragraph will be about one of those perspectives after you do the introduction and establish the context. So I've given you an example of how you might structure that here. It's kind of like claim, evidence, reason. which is a real typical format that most people use in high school. Sorry about that. So again, I will show you an example, but this just kind of guides your structure as you are drafting. And then once you get to the second page and you've done this stuff and you have a couple of perspectives, then you have the option to draft a conclusion. You're going to have one anyway, but this is the only place that you can use personal language. So the purpose of this conclusion is going to be to show whether or not you kept your original hypothesis. So your original thoughts when you came up with this topic, that should have been represented in your introduction somewhere. But after you've done all this research and you've looked at these perspectives and you've written about it, have you changed your mind or have you been confirmed? Usually you end up somewhere in between. Like, yeah, I still believe what I once did, but now I have a broader perspective, and here's why. So you'll see that in the student example. It's not necessary, but if you would like to go ahead and get it out of the way and have some feedback on it, that is a good idea. So also, this is part of the rubric for the final essay. Naturally, you want it to be clear. So the clarity piece is worth usually 10, 15 points of your total 100 point grade. And so you want it to be free from distracting errors. Well organized organization and structure is about 20% of your grade overall. And then finally, tone is usually part of clarity, so it must be academic and appropriate. There is only going to be personal language if you decide to do a conclusion. For now, you'll have to have one in the final essay. So when you're looking on the student sample, first of all, here's the actual assignment if you'd like to look at it. But the draft is a sample that a student wrote on micro-labeling, which you may not be aware of what that means. I took the student's name off, so you're not going to write English student. You're going to write your own name. But this student is writing about something that most people do not know about. So this person is giving background here about the legalization of gay marriage and a little bit about the LGBT plus community before getting into a thesis statement, a working thesis statement. And this student is a member of this community, but admits that he is not sure what he actually thinks about this. So that's why he's doing this essay. So here is the thesis statement I was talking about, the working hypothesis. Although micro-labels might be beneficial to help someone exactly label their sexuality and gender, they create an obstacle for the LGBT plus community to achieve public validity. So that's what he thinks now. Then he's getting into some different perspectives. So here he's quoting someone. This is a proper in-text citation when there is no page number. So this is just an article online, and so there is no page number. This is the author's name. Notice that there isn't a period here because the end of this sentence is here. The period goes after the parentheses. The last name is properly capitalized. Now, what if there is no author or a page number? Then you use the title of the article, not the web address, the title of the article on the website. So you get into this, you see the perspectives, and this student has long paragraphs. So he actually just has 2 body paragraphs about perspectives. Some of his background information is embedded. Then he gives a working conclusion on the 3rd page. So he decided to take me up on that offer. This is the only personal language you will see in this entire essay. And so he has done a good job of explaining his own perspective, okay? After he's done some research. He's not finished, just like you're not finished. But this is the works cited page. Notice that it is properly formatted. So alphabetical order, hanging indentions, proper capitalization of everything. And this is properly capitalized with the title. You have double spacing. I mean, this is exactly what it should look like. So don't keep your annotations in there. Annotations were not a waste of time, by the way, because you can probably use those to build your body paragraphs. That's the reason that we did that. If you decide to use those sources, then add what you typed, make it into a paragraph, and you have a body paragraph. I mean, you're going to have to structure it properly, but that's not a waste of typing that you did. This is all a process, and so that's why I had you do the annotated bibliography. So back to Blackboard, you do have in Unit 3 that sample that I just showed you. You have the actual assignment itself. Sorry, I don't know why that's going so slow. The actual assignment itself here with like the rubric and an overview. And then you also have the slides that I just used to give you this brief video. So you have those to reference as you draft this week.